I had said that for tonight's review that the winner of Arizona and Tampa, if it was Tampa, that I would wear a Tampa jersey for the review. I did not realize something historic was going to happen in the Nashville game. I feel I have to wear a Nashville jersey for this review because something really historic happened in this review. Something that we don't see very often at all. A lot of goalies have tried it. Tonight, one of them finally made it happen. All right, first up, Winnipeg in against Boston. Not a game that I don't know. It was kind of a sloppy game, and yet I'm happy with the result. Obviously, in the first, it's Connor that scores from Ehlers and Scheifele at 7:35, and then the Jets pushed for another. They did push pretty hard at that stage. Both teams were struggling with their passing early on, and I thought, of course they are. Both teams just handing it away. I'm watching it with my wife, and she said, I don't like how to see the Jets just passed it off or handed it away. And I said, don't worry. The Bruins will hand it off too, and then they did. They handed off one right back to Jets. I said, see, you don't have anything to worry about. However, Pastrnak would score at 17-14. That's his 33rd of the season. Nice one-time goal from Nordstrom and Corelli. They were actually double shifting Pastrnak in that first period to try to get things going. Second period, the Bruins get a power play in the first minute. The Jets got a power play shortly thereafter, and they score on it. Kopp would score from Morrissey and Ehlers at 6 minutes. Then Boston gets themselves a power play, and who scores? Pastrnak from Krug and Marchand at 9:41. That's a power play goal. That's 34 on the season for Pastrnak. Pastrnak really is the offense for the Boston Bruins for the most part. I went through their record over the last 15 games a few days ago, and Pastrnak scores a lot of goals for them. DeBrusk would score late in that period at 18:49. That made it 3-2, and that was a tough one. That was a tough one for the Jets, and yet they end up getting a power play in the last minute, and they score on it. Pionk scores from Wheeler and Line at 19:52. So that power play goal, the second of the game for the Jets, they wouldn't get another power play. They finished the night perfect on the power play. And it's tied going into the third. In the third period, the Bruins get a power play. They wouldn't score on it. There was a dangerous turnover then in Boston's own zone to Nick Ehlers of all people. The Jets looked pretty good in that first half, and eventually they'd get a goal out of it. Scheifele would score from Connor at 7 minutes and 50 seconds, and the Jets kept pushing for more after that. Then, kind of against the flow of the play, Pastrnak ends up getting a goal. That's a hat trick from Krejci and DeBrusk at 11:13. Ever since Jake DeBrusk was called out by the coach, he's been playing very, very well. Probably the best he's played all season. And, notice it's Krejci and DeBrusk getting the assists on that one. So, again, the idea of splitting up that top line to get other players going, I think is a good idea. And messing around with the lines a little bit seemed to work tonight. So that was, and also I want to point out, that was during a Jets line change. The DeBrusk goal here was during a Jets line change as well. So the Jets not taking their time to make sure that that puck's in the Bruins' end when they go off on a line change, and it cost them twice in this game. And, DeBrusk would then score from McAvoy and Grzelcyk at 11:46. That's the third point of the game for DeBrusk. That's his second goal. Power play then for the Bruins. Wouldn't score, but it takes 2 minutes off the clock. They pull the goalie with a minute and a half left, but the Jets unable to tie it. Brossoit saved 31 out of 36. He played okay, but part of the narrative of this is when you don't have Hellebuck in net to steal the game, you don't win it. Halak saved 17 out of 21. I did not think this was a great game for Halak. They just didn't get enough shots on him. 3 stars are Pastrnak, DeBrusk, and Connor. Power plays 2 for 2 for Winnipeg, 1 for 4 for the Bruins. Shots, Boston was very consistent. They had 12 shots in every period. The first period, Winnipeg had 6. The second period, they had 8. And the third period, they had 7. It averaged out to 7 a period. They end up with 21 on the game, and they lose the game in Boston 5-4. Keep in mind, Winnipeg on a back-to-back, Boston with the extra rest. So there are those reasons there why Winnipeg might have been a little flat tonight, but they missed out on a chance to potentially get 2 points, because I thought to myself when Pastrnak scored, I thought if this goes to overtime, Winnipeg's going to win it, because that's where Boston loses games. But second game in a row, victory in regulation for Boston. Maybe they'll be okay. Maybe it's because they know they got pressure from below right now, and we'll get to that. So next up, Edmonton went in tonight against the Montreal Canadiens team that's desperate. Montreal's desperate. They need a result. They need a good result. They need to show their fans, all right, we're going to turn this around. And it looked like they were going to. Early they get a power play. The shots were 4-0 for Montreal at the 6-minute mark. They were playing very well. The Oilers' first shot was around the 8-minute mark. They get a power play. They don't score. Then Danault scores from Tatar and Petrie at 12:35. That's the only scoring in the first. It's 1-0 Montreal. Huzzah! They're up. Second period, Kotkaniemi scores from Lehkonen and Kulak at 2:24. That's the 6th of the year for Kotkaniemi. He continues what appears to be a good start to the second half for him. The Habs almost scored again. So happy days are here again. Montreal teeing off on an Oilers team that might be tired from the road trip. You can use whatever reason you need at this point. But Sheahan would score from Nygaard and Larson at 7:16. That made it 2-1. And the momentum started to shift. But it's 2-1 for Montreal after 2. So all you've got to do is have a good third period, and you come out with a victory if you're Montreal, and you stop the losing. No. The Oilers get a power play early, and they score on it. Nugent-Hopkins from McDavid and Draisaitl at 2:16. The Oilers kept pushing for the lead at that point. They sensed weakness in Montreal at that stage. Chason would score from Klefbom and Russell at 9:40. And there you go. That's Chris Russell. It was his second assist? No, that's his first assist of the game. I thought that was his second. Anyways, they're up. Edmonton's up. So the Habs get a power play. And they push with that power play, but with 3.5 minutes left, the Oilers, understanding what's going on here and what's on the line, they pressured. And so Montreal is kind of desperate. They pull the goalie with 2 minutes left. Weber got a nice shot, which was denied by Smith. Mike Smith is playing very, very well. The Habs take a timeout with 1:06 left. That doesn't work. Archibald ends up hitting an empty net from Nugent-Hopkins and Draisaitl at 19:25. Nugent-Hopkins could have hit the empty net, passed it off to Draisaitl instead. The unselfishness when it comes to empty netters continues in the NHL. I like it. Final scores 4-2 for Edmonton. They get a very important win because somebody in their division lost tonight. So as we continue on through January, Edmonton's playoff hopes seem to be getting brighter and brighter with each game. And Smith with 35 saves on 37 shots, a massive reason why. Price saved 22 out of 25. Your 3 stars are McDavid, Chason, and Gallagher. I'm not sure why Smith didn't get a star. The shots are 14-6 Montreal in the first, 10-10 in the second, and 13-10 Montreal in the third. Final shots 37-26. Montreal once again a 2-goal lead, and they lose. Power plays 1-2 for Edmonton, 0-2 for the Montreal Canadiens, and that's the end of their night. So we'll see if Montreal can pull out of that in their next game. Next up, Arizona in against Tampa. Make it 9. Yeah. The Coyotes buzzed the Bolts net at around the halfway mark. They had a nice shots lead at 7-3 at one point in this game. It looked like, hey, Arizona's in this. And then Tampa became Tampa again. It was kind of wide open, though, for a Coyotes game, and I thought that was noteworthy, that this was kind of a wide open, free-flowing game. When the Coyotes are playing their game, that's not happening. And against Tampa, you're just playing with fire. Killorn would score from Maroon and Paquette at 15:06. Cirelli then had a nice chance, which was stopped by Aiden Hill. However, Sergachev would score from Paquette and Maroon at 18:24. So Paquette and Maroon both with 2 assists in the first period. And it's 2-0 after 1. And as soon as that happens, you go, and Tampa wins. This is how it works now. Tampa Bay's back. Second period, the Coyotes got a power play. They would not score on said power play. Kucherov would then score from Point and Stamkos at 6:15, and I just wrote on the board, remember that iffy start? it was like a month ago. We're talking about Tampa, and I kept saying they'll make the playoffs. I can't see them not making the playoffs. There were some saying, no, it doesn't look the same this year. It doesn't look the same this year. And all of a sudden it does. It's a surprise. Kucherov would score from Stamkos and Ruda at 9:11, and that's really all they'd need. They could coast from there. And, you know, I this is a one-off if you're the Arizona Coyotes. You're playing in Tampa against a team that's absolutely red hot. Third period, the Bolts got a power play, and that impressive run continued. That was the Tampa Bay's only power play in the game. That was really not a necessary thing for them. All 4 of their goals are scored 5-on-5, and they win the game 4-0. So Vasilevsky gets the shutout. 24 saves in that shutout. Hill saves 33 out of 37 at the other end of the rink. I thought he was okay, but you know what? When your team doesn't score a goal, this is what happens. Vasilevsky, Kucherov, and Sergachev are your 3 stars. Power plays 0 for 2 for Arizona, 0 for 1 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Shots 10 apiece in the first, 15 to 8 in the second in favor of Tampa, 12 to 6 in the third in favor of Tampa. Shots 37 to 24 overall in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And so for Arizona, they move on, and I believe they're playing tomorrow night in Carolina. So it does not get easier from here if you're Arizona. The good news is they did get some help from a team you would not have expected them to get help from. But that part of the review is at least an hour further on in this video. Feels like it. So yeah, it's 9 games in a row for Tampa. For people wondering, I usually do winning streaks at 10. Normally it's a 10-game winning streak before it gets a video. This, at this stage, though, might be interesting enough to do a video of on its own, because where these guys were 9 games ago compared to now, light years difference. Absolute light years difference. Next up, Vancouver. They don't like Florida. I'm not sure what's going on here, but Vancouver and Florida, they don't mix. Achari would score from Trocheck at 1 minute. Then Pesek scores from Sevier and Boyle at 3:01. That's 2 goals on 2 shots. Demko didn't have a good start. The defense didn't have a good start. This is, during that winning streak, there were games that Vancouver won that I didn't like. And the criticism thrown was, Shannon's so hard on the Canucks, he can't accept that they got a victory. And it was, well, they're allowing way too many shots, and you can't do this too often. You can't have defense playing this way, because eventually, and here we are. It was a terrible start for the Canucks. However, at 6:51, Brock Besser scores from Myers and Pettersson. That's his 14th of the year, and it's the first he's had in a while. So it gets it closer, but the Panthers got a power play, which turned into a 4-on-4. Demko was actually saved by a quick whistle. There was a puck that I think was loose, and it would have been 3-1, but the play was whistled dead. There was a power play for the Canucks, and it resulted in Sasha Barkov having a shorthanded breakaway. So scary stuff there. It didn't end up going in. But Dadonov would score from Barkov and Huberdeau at 18:53. Yes, Huberdeau's assists continue to pile up. So it's 3-1 after 1. Second period, more turnovers by the Canucks. A lot of turnovers. I can't point the finger at any one player. There are times Edler drives me nuts. There's times where you could point at Tyler Myers. There's times where you can point at Stetcher. Hughes, Hughes is a rookie. He makes mistakes. The Panthers got a power play. They scored on it. Hoffman scores from Huberdeau and Yandel at 3:40. Made it 4-1. The Canucks got a power play. Didn't score. Panthers get another one late in the period. That doesn't score. But they're up 4-1, so they're not concerned. Third period, Noel Achari would score another one. He now has 12 goals in his last 12 games. From Ekblad and Connolly at 6:55. So Ekblad with a pretty darn good game as well. And, 5-1. Tyler Mott would score from Beagle and Schaller at 12:14. So the fourth line gets on the board. And that's it. Your final score is 5-2. It's been a rough road trip. And next up is a Saturday stop in Buffalo. So if they lose that one too, the power rankings on Saturday night, Canuck fans won't be happy with me Saturday night. If they lose against Buffalo, and especially if it's like the losses against Tampa and Florida, they'll take a bit of a dive. So Demko saves 44 out of 49 after allowing 2 goals on the first 2 shots. He really locked it down. Not that it mattered. Bobrovsky saves 30 out of 32. Quietly has a good game. Achari's your first star, Huberdeau's second, and Ekblad's third. Power plays 0 for 3 for Vancouver, 1 for 4 for Florida. The shots favored Florida the whole way through. 16-13 in the first, 20-8 in the second, and 13-11 in the third. Final shots, 49-32. So again, this is that shot deficit that they've been rocking through some of their wins, and now they're losing these games because they're against teams that have the finishers. Florida has a lot of finishers, and tonight they did some finishing. So, that being said, I need to change boards. Now, if you like goals, you'd love this game, unless you're a Devils fan. Unless you want to see the Devils lose as much as possible and have a better chance of winning the draft lottery, which, as we saw today in the draft video I did, will make everybody happy. If the Devils win the draft lottery, look out. I will probably have a pretty good chuckle at that. So stick around for the draft lottery video when that happens in April. I'm thinking around the middle of April, usually when it happens. Anyways, for the Devils tonight, not a great night. And for Shesterkin, right? So Georgiev's done then, because it's 2 games in a row. Shesterkin's looked pretty good. The Devils get an early power play based on a delay of game penalty. Shesterkin did look pretty good early on. And then Panarin scores from DeAngelo and Fox at 5:42. Anthony DeAngelo, Tony DeAngelo. Tonight he's money DeAngelo, really. Rangers get a power play. During said power play, Rooney would score shorthanded from Zaka at 8:06. This was the first goal Rooney had since March of last season. And so it's 1-1. But DeAngelo would score right after that power play ended. Yes, money DeAngelo from Zibanejad and Kreider at 9:47. And then less than 3 minutes later on another power play, Kreider scores from DeAngelo and Zibanejad at 12:16. And he's money. He's got 3 points already in the first period. Coleman would score in the last 2 minutes of the period. So at 18 minutes and 10 seconds, Coleman scores from Severson and Zajac to make it 3-2. And then there was a play where the red light came on. The players were unsure. It actually hit the crossbar. It didn't go in. So weird. It's one of those weird things. But we go into the second period. Shesterkin stopped a good chance for Wood. However, Coleman would tie it from Butcher and Gusev at 8:56. So Blake Coleman with a couple of goals, and it's 3-3. So who breaks that tie? Money does. DeAngelo at 12:08. People like stop trying to make that happen. No. So Tony DeAngelo gets a goal at 12:08. Restores the lead. The Rangers got a power play. It would turn into a 5-on-3 for 7 seconds. But after the 5-on-3 ended, it's DeAngelo with the hat trick. Power play goal from Stroman Panarin at 15:02. DeAngelo had 5 points in 35 minutes. I have talked up DeAngelo a lot. If anybody's out there that says, we should probably trade him, I think you're crazy. DeAngelo has played very, very well. I know he doesn't play defense. I know he doesn't play on the penalty kill. It doesn't matter when a guy gets 5 points in a game. You win because DeAngelo got more than the Devils did. This was an 80s style game, really. There were lots of chances at both ends, lots of shots. There were offsetting calls late. Turned it 4-on-4 in the third period, around the halfway mark. The Devils get a power play. It doesn't matter. Fast would score from Stroman Panarin at 12:56. Jesper Fast, absolutely gorgeous goal. Just absolutely filthy. That was the only goal Demang allowed because they pulled out Blackwood after that 5th goal. And so it's a 6-3 win for the Rangers. Sad. They could be turning things around, and tonight shows that maybe that's the case. Blackwood saved 20 out of 25. Demang saves 11 out of 12. Shesterkin, 46 saves on 49 shots. And more importantly, he's now 2-0 as a National Hockey League goaltender. So I don't know where Georgiev goes, but I'm thinking he's going to get traded. 3 stars are DeAngelo, Panarin, and Shesterkin. And anybody who's going to say, well, they could always trade Lundqvist. A, no movement clause. B, $8.5 million salary cap hit. And he has a contract into next season. So Lundqvist isn't going anywhere. Power plays 0 for 2 for New Jersey, 2 for 5 for the New York Rangers. Yeah, this was pretty authoritative. First period shots were 17-14 for New Jersey. They were 14 each in the second, and in the third, 18-9 in favor of New Jersey. So the final shots were 49-37. That's 86 shots. Defense, they don't need no stinking defense. Again, DeAngelo not known for his defensive shot blocking abilities and all that. 5 points. That's pretty good. So there you go. The New York Rangers with a very impressive victory over a team that, yes, I'm well aware of where New Jersey is in the standings. It doesn't make DeAngelo's 5 points less impressive. Next up, St. Louis in a game that was never really in doubt. Pretty much right off the hop. And I'm not sure what it is with Buffalo, but boy, that game on Saturday is a tale of 2 teams that are on their 50th year, Buffalo and Vancouver. And it's starting to look like maybe both of them end up missing the playoffs again. Thomas would score from Bozak and Steen at 4:47. And then almost 10 minutes later in the game, Bozak scores from Thomas and Mikkola. So Mikkola, I'm pretty sure that's his first NHL point at 13:29. And then the Blues pressured it around the 15-minute mark for a third. They just kept hammering it on. Second period, Eichel would make things interesting at 4:22. He scores from Reinhart and Dahlin. And it's like, all right, well, maybe Buffalo's got a chance. Nope. A power play for St. Louis snuffs that out. Perron would score during said power play from Shen and Schwartz at 10:17. It's 3-1 for St. Louis after 2. There's no way that Buffalo, who had won 6 out of 22 games on the road coming into this one, was going to come back against the St. Louis Blues, who had only lost, I think it was 4 at home in regulation coming into tonight. The Blues were really limiting chances in that third period. They were just choking off the neutral zone, weren't giving Buffalo anything. The overall shots were 2-1 in the Blues' favor overall. Like, they were out shooting them by a margin of 2-1. So they were doubling them in shots. And Steen would then score from Thomas and Bozak at 5:36. That's his first of the season. And it's nice to see Steen back in the game and getting a goal for himself. And the Sabres' road struggles are still a problem. They still only have 6 wins on the season. They and Vancouver both being undone by poor road records. A power play was upcoming for the Sabres. They didn't score on it. That was their only one of the night. They pulled the goalie with 5 minutes and 15 seconds left. Normally, I would say, oh, that's terrible, that's dumb. You know what? In Buffalo's situation, it's dire enough. They need some kind of a result. I understood it. Steen would hit the empty net from O'Reilly at 15:18 again. This is the second time we saw this tonight. O'Reilly easily could have hit that empty net. He passed it over to Steen instead. He's like, no, I want him to get it. He needs the goal. And Steen was very appreciative. And the fans were very happy to see Steen get on the board twice. Ullmark saves 26 out of 30 in the loss. Binnington only faced 19 shots. He saved 18 of them. He really wasn't tested that much. There were a couple of close calls in the third, but really relatively light night for Binnington. Your 3 stars are Steen, Thomas, and Bozak. So once again, St. Louis with a very well-rounded attack. Thomas, a goal and 2 assists for him. Don't look now. Robert Thomas is becoming what he was supposed to be. Power plays 0 for 1 for Buffalo, 1 for 1 for St. Louis. The shots favored St. Louis in the first and the second. 11-7 in the first, 15-6 in the second. In the third, Buffalo outshot them by 6-5. So overall shots 31-19 in favor of the Blues. And that's how you win at home. That was a very, very strong victory for a pretty darn impressive-looking St. Louis Blues team. All right, moving along to the historic moment of the evening, as the Nashville Predators went in against Chicago, and there was nothing to tell us anything historic was going to happen here. And early on, nothing necessarily was going to happen positively for Chicago either, but it did. Arvidsson would score from Yossi and Forsberg at 3:16. So Austin 3:16 says, I know. Anyways, Yossi then made a really solid defensive play right after that shot that went off Arvidsson into the net. So Yossi proving his dominance at both ends of the ice. Strong start for Pekka Rinne as well. Blackwell would then score his first NHL goal. Trennan gets the assist on that at 8:22. So Blackwell, nice celebration after that too. Very, very nice celebration. There's a kid that he goes to the hockey that I coach at and all this. And, I was passing him the puck yesterday and he just keeps throwing it in the net. And the goalie wasn't really trying to stop it. And he told me, he said, it's all about the Sellies. It's all about the Sellies. He's wearing a Matthews jersey, and I'm like, might be wanting to wear a Hyman jersey if it's all about the Sellies, but I get it. So yeah, Blackwell, nice celebration. I thought of the kid when I saw it. I thought that kid, if he's watching this game, is thinking it's all about the Sellies. The crowd was really taken out of the game after that second goal. Duchesne would score from Ekholm at 16:55. So 3-0 Nashville after 1. It's over, right? Not necessarily. Rinne denied Kubalik. Kubalik must have taken that personally because he would score at 6:43 from Taves and Keith. So Taves continues to score at a pretty decent rate since a really slow start. The Predators got a power play, didn't score. Not only that, but then the Hawks get pressure and they draw a power play. Shots were heavily in favor of the Predators in that second period, but Kubalik with the only goal as we go into the third. So Chicago likely thinking, we can steal this, and they try. The Hawks got close at around 4.5 minutes, and they get a power play shortly thereafter, because pressure will do that. DeBrincat scores from Taves and Kane at 5:32, so that's a power play goal for DeBrincat, his 12th of the season, and that's point number 994 for Kane. He is 6 points short of 1,000. They get another power play, the Chicago Blackhawks. Heavy shot, lead for the Blackhawks in the third period. It was night and day between the second and third period for Chicago. They pull the goalie with 1:30 left, and here's where history comes in. The Hawks call a timeout with 45 seconds left, and clearly planned to allow history to happen because Bonino gets an empty netter at 19:23. So it's 4-2, and then they pull the goalie again, and it's a 198-foot shot into that empty net by Pekka Rinne, who becomes the 12th goaltender in National Hockey League history to score a goal. And for a moment, he was tied in goals on the season with Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton, probably upon hearing this, would say, all right, I need to break that tie. So Rinne saves 29 out of 31. The interesting thing was, in between the second and third period, the announcers for Chicago were saying, well, Rinne's looking kind of shaky maybe in the third period. And he looked pretty good in that third period. Crawford saved 25 out of 30 or 25 out of 28 for the Chicago Blackhawks. Rinne, Blackwell, and Taves are your 3 stars. Pekka Rinne had to be the first star. Not just the 29 saves, but he scored a goal. So he's first star. Power plays 0 for 2 for Nashville, 1 for 3 for Chicago. Shots were 12-10 in favor of Nashville in the first, 13-7 Nashville in the second, 14-5 for Chicago in the third, so they do end up winning the shots battle, 31-30. So, historic night. Congratulations to Pekka Rinne on his first goal, and I had to wear Nashville gear for that. I think everybody will understand you have to wear gear of a team where the goaltender got his first ever National Hockey League goal. Like, it's not something that happens every night. So, I saw that and I went, yeah, I'm wearing Nashville tonight, I guess. And I had to make sure it's the same jersey they wore tonight. I couldn't get all fancy and go with the mustard or anything. I had to go with the real one they wore. So, yeah, big win. And it is a big win for them, and it's a tough loss for Chicago because, of course, that distance between themselves and teams in the playoffs grows a little bit. All right, next up, Calgary and Minnesota. The goaltenders really stole this game, and they were really, really stingy. And Talbot is the starter. So while Mike Smith seems to be stealing the job from Koskinen in Edmonton, and right now Edmonton fans are saying, no, he did steal it. Talbot seems to be doing the same with Riddick, to which Flames fan will go, no, he's stealing it. So Mangiapane just missed wide early in this game. The Flames got a power play. They would score on it. Derek Ryan gets the goal from Hanifin and Backlund at 4:39. And that would be the end of the scoring in that first period. But, man, there were 31 shots in that first period. A lot of good opportunities both ways. Both goaltenders looked really good. So second period, when Zuccarello scored from Stalock at 38 seconds, you got the feeling this was really important. Could be a change in the momentum of the game and the whole feel of the game. Minnesota scores a minute into that, or not even a minute into that second period. The Flames got a power play. The Wild got a power play shortly thereafter. They don't score. And then Johnny Gaudreau from Monahan and Anderson at 9:38. So Rasmus Anderson celebrates his brand new contract by getting on the scoreboard. Congratulations on that for him. And the teams were trading chances late in the period. So things got locked down a bit after that, but they loosened up again as the period went along. So the teams kind of went, okay, we should play defense and forget it. Stalock saved after a wild turnover, and then Derek Ryan with a really nice save in that last minute as well. So Minnesota had a good chance to hit a net, and Ryan made the save. So he has a save and a goal. So it's 2-1 Flames entering the third. And another strong game for Cam Talbot. We've talked about Talbot and how poor he looked at times this year. Looks really, really strong right now. I've always been a fan of Talbot's. This is the Talbot I remember that took Edmonton to the playoffs some years back. The shots 7-2 for the Wild at 6 minutes. The Wild had a close call near the half. They ended up hitting the post. The Wild pushed with 4 minutes left. There was lots of pressure for the Minnesota Wild, but every single shot that got through, Talbot stopped it. They pull the goalie with 2 minutes left, and they pointed out, because of course I'm watching the Minnesota feed, they pulled the goalie 14 times coming into this game. This is time number 15. They've scored once with the goaltender pulled. Once they've scored 6 on 5. They've allowed 9 empty net goals. 9. So it's not a successful enterprise for Minnesota. So for people who look at goalie pulls and think, does this ever work? Kinda, but usually no. Talbot robbed Fiala with about 25 seconds left, and your final score is 2-1 for Calgary as Talbot holds the victory. Stalock saved 35 out of 37. He was no slouch either. Talbot saved 42 out of 43 shots. Final 3 stars, Talbot, Stalock, and Johnny Gaudreau with the game winner. Power plays 0 for 2 for Minnesota, 1 for 2 for Calgary. Shots 17 to 14 in favor of the Flames in the first, 15 to 14 in favor of Minnesota in the second, and 14 to 6 Minnesota in the third. Final shots 43 to 37 in favor of the Minnesota Wild. And this was quite the game, but both goaltenders made sure they took all the scoring out of it and did it quite well. So Talbot's making an argument for getting more starts. Ever since he got that first win in forever, he's been pretty darn good. All right, that being said, I need to change boards. All right, people, don't worry, we're almost done. LA, what? Huh? And then we got to talk about the 3 stars problem in Vegas. We need to. This has been going on all year, and tonight, I understand, but no. And I put up at the start that Carnell Johnson came out and sang the anthem. He's fantastic. He's my favorite anthem singer. Follow him on Instagram. I recommend it to anybody if you can follow Carnell. And then he's got this cover band thing that he's doing as well. And I think it's Cover Lane LV, something like that. And I'm kind of thinking about checking that out when we go to Vegas in March, because I'm thinking that might be kind of fun if it's somewhere that's within our sphere of where we're hanging out. I think that might be kind of fun. That being said, Carnell's anthem might be the highlight of the night for Vegas fans. Turnover almost got Vegas a goal early, and things went pretty swimmingly overall. LA got a lot of shots, but none of them were going in until Martinez at 13:40. Hutton from Toffoli and Iafallo at 15:01. Then Toffoli from Kopitar at 18:44. That is assist number 600 for Anze Kopitar. Kempe then scored from Amadio and Roy at 19:56. And that's just the word "what" with a bunch of exclamation marks and question marks. Now, Vegas fans absolutely pouncing on Subban. I don't know what he could have done about that Kempe goal where it was a yard sale in front of the net. The Hutton goal, a little bit leaky, but in general, when you allow 18 shots in the first period, your defense isn't playing well enough. So there was some blame to go around. They locked it down in the second period. Now, what I found was interesting too was that the LA announcer did mix up Raw and Roy. He did. And he said, yeah, that's. And I thought, yeah, that's going to happen. So I thought I'd put that on the board, not to call him out or anything, because I said in this morning's preview, that's going to happen. It's the same name. It's just one of them's French, and one of them's English, and so it's Roy and it's Raw. It's bizarre. It's like Elias and Elias, and yet they're both Swedish. So why? All right. People know what I'm talking about. Vegas had a 2-on-1 that just missed. There was a heavy shot advantage for Vegas in the second period, and eventually it broke through at about the same point in the period where LA broke through in the first. It's Riley Smith at 14:38, and sensing this momentum shift, they score again within a minute. It's Pacioretty from Stastny and Stone at 15:34, and this is a problem for the Kings, allowing goals in kind of bunches. But they held on for the rest of the period. They really were glad to hear that buzzer at the end of the second period. But in the third, they didn't come out any more ready, really. Although they limited Vegas' shots against, kind of. Tuck had a shot that hit Campbell up high. It looked like it caught him right here in the collarbone. It's one of those ones you go, man, that's got to hurt. I know there's some padding, but that's got to hurt a bit. Vegas got close at around the 6-minute mark. They get a power play. They wouldn't score on it. And then the Kings went the other way with a 2-on-1, and Amadio just missed the net. It's one of those ones where if Amadio had buried it, that would have done it. So they pulled the goalie with 2.5 minutes left, around 2:45 left. And then what was weird was that twice they went offside, so there was a lack of just, okay, now take a breath and wait at the blue line. And then they kept putting the goalie back in. They kept putting Subban back in the net, even though the face-off, I know it's in the neutral zone, but it's still on their side of center. So I was surprised they didn't just stay with 6 skaters, because it's just one of those things I noticed, and I thought I'd bring it up. And then there was a slash by a Vegas player at the end of the game. He didn't really have a choice. Either you slash the hands of Carter or he scores into an empty net. And they could have awarded an empty net goal there. They didn't. They could have. However, Kempe would score on that power play, pretty much right as it started. So at 19:51, Kempe with the goal to make it 5-2. That's his second goal of the game, and it's the second one he had in the last 10 seconds of a period. So he should be in the 3 stars. He should be in 3 stars. Let's get into that. Campbell, 44 saves on 46 shots. He was fantastic. Subban, 18 saves on 23 shots. I know he's going to get a lot of blame for this. I know he is. Your 3 stars are Campbell, Smith, and Pacioretty. They lost 5-2. And as soon as I saw the 3 stars, I went, Vegas picked those, didn't they? Yep. Yeah, they did. Adrian Kempe gets 2 goals. I understand Pacioretty and Smith both had a goal. Kempe had 2. Toffoli had a goal and an assist in the first. Kopitar had his 600th assist. Okay. Power play, 1-for-1 for LA, 0-for-1 for Vegas. Shots, 18-10 in the first in favor of LA, and then their shooting went to sleep. Was 24-3 in favor of Vegas in the second, 12-2 Vegas in the third. Final shots, 46-23 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights, who lose 5-2 at home and lose out on a chance to maintain ground ahead of Calgary and Edmonton, who both won tonight, and to get first place and take it away from Arizona. So the Pacific gets a lot tighter coming out of tonight. So, yeah. Just weird. Don't give Kempe a star. Next up, obviously, he's my honorary star of the night. Dallas. Speaking of stars, Dallas went into Anaheim tonight and played a sleepy game. And even, it's bad when even the Dallas announcers are talking about how boring the game is. But this is kind of the style that Dallas plays. This is kind of the style Anaheim plays as well. So you got 2 teams that kind of play a form of the neutral zone trap. You're kind of going to get this. But Gurianov at the halfway mark would score from Hintz and Lindell at 10:13. That's my first note because there really wasn't anything noteworthy going on before that. Good first period by Bishop. Kasha had a good game. I think his offense is picking up, even though he doesn't get any points tonight. I think Andre Kasha is looking pretty good. Second period, early power play for the Stars. It doesn't go anywhere. Their power play usually sucks. It didn't tonight. Gibson stopped Radulov. The Stars get another power play and they score on it. This time, Gibson doesn't stop Radulov. Radulov with the goal. The Ducks were caught watching Sagan behind the net. So Radulov from Sagan and Bishop at 5:10. That's right, Bishop on the board. Goalies were scoring in bunches tonight. Deslauriers and Alexiak then had a fight. And it was right on the face-off after that second goal. Again, proving that Deslauriers is as close as we have to a true enforcer in today's game. Where you can kind of tell, okay, they're going to put him out on the ice and he's just out there to fight. He's not out there to have a regular shift. He will pick a fight as soon as that puck drops. Or even beforehand. He will pick a fight. That's Deslauriers' game now. He accepts it. And he's pretty darn good at it as well. So, the Ducks got a power play shortly thereafter. And they got another power play towards the end of that period. They don't score on those. Those are the only power plays they have in the game. Third period, Comtois got hurt, but he skated off the ice, and then he skated, or after he skated off the ice, he went down the hall. What was interesting with that was that, so he gets hurt, and the trainer comes out on the ice, and he skated away from the trainer. And I'm pretty sure it was Brian Hayward that I was listening to who said trainers hate that. They don't like coming out on the ice and going over to a player, and then the player just skates away from them, and then they're left walking back over to the bench. They can't stand it. And then there was Dickinson took an absolutely smoking hit. It was clean, but brutal hit on Dickinson, and he kept toweling his nose and checking his teeth. So that was a real rattler, that one. 4-on-4 played around 7 minutes. Janmark then had a break that was stopped by Gibson. And they pull the goalie with 3.5 minutes left. Well, we know what happens there. Rope Hintz scores from Dickinson into the empty net at 16:56. And Dallas wins this game 3-0. That is Bishop's 33rd career shutout. 27 saves on 27 shots. Gibson saves 24 out of 26. This is where I'm kind of confused too. Gurianov's first star, Kasha's second, and Lindell's third. Bishop got a shutout. Saved 27. He saved. All right. Shots were 11-6 in the first in favor of Anaheim, 10-8 Anaheim in the second, 13-6 in favor of Dallas in the third. Power plays 2 for 3 for Dallas, 0 for 2 for Anaheim. I enjoy the 3-star thing because honestly, it's something fun to talk about that I don't see it in other sports broadcasts where they talk about it. Like if you're watching TSN, ESPN, any of them, they show you the score. They show you all the fun scoring plays. The 3 stars to me is interesting because there are times where like this, I'm going, yeah, Kasha had a good game. I even made note of it in the first period, but Bishop had a shutout. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think it was an easy shutout. It was a shutout, still. I mean, I know players don't care about it, but still, it's kind of weird when you see star selection sometimes. Next up, final game, Columbus and San Jose. I don't know what San Jose knows about Columbus, but if I was playing Columbus over the next few weeks, I might be giving San Jose a call and saying, so, what do you guys do against Columbus? Because you're pretty good at it. The Sharks were up 11-5 in shots at the 12-minute mark. Columbus gets a power play. They wouldn't score on it. Shots evened up a bit in that second half, though. So Columbus gets their feet under them in that second half. Going into the second period, Columbus has to feel pretty good. But that only lasts till 1:01 into that second period. LeBanc scores from Kane and Erik Karlsson at 1:01. Columbus gets a power play shortly thereafter, and no. Merzlikins then denied the Sharks at around the 7-minute mark. Wouldn't deny them for long. Joe Thornton, well aware that he's tied in goals on the season with Pekka Rinne, gets a power play goal from Erik Karlsson and Barclay Goodrow at 13:28. For Thornton, this also brings him up closer to 1,500 points. He's very close to 1,500 points. He will get to that mark, I would think, in the next few weeks. I know his scoring isn't what it was, so I'm not going to speculate, shouldn't take him that long. I'll say next few weeks, he likely hits the 1,500 point mark. Dell looked pretty good in this game. He did. Aaron Dell had a good game. Milano would score at 18-12 to break the shutout, but it's 2-1 for the Sharks after 2. Third period, and again, early in the period, Brent Burns with a goal from LeBanc and Dillon at 2:09. And that was a tough one for Columbus because it felt like they were on the comeback trail, and then Burns puts it in. And so, yeah, shortly thereafter, Nick Foligno ends up getting in a fight with Dillon, and Foligno had to defend himself because he threw a clean hit, so that's what we do in the NHL these days. I don't know how many of these fights we end up seeing. We don't see as many fights as we used to, but it is weird to me that a guy will throw a clean hit, and then he has to turn around and fight somebody about it. I'm not sure I understand that. It's a clean hit. So, I mean, I can understand with a dirty hit. I can understand with a hit that injures somebody, and you can tell he's concussed, he's going to be out for a while. But when it's a clean hit, it's just strange to me. But yeah, so Foligno takes that. He takes that fighting opportunity. The Sharks got a power play shortly thereafter. Columbus pushed, and when the Sharks pushed back, Elvis was the savior for them. Elvis Merzlikins had a pretty good game tonight. Really can't criticize him on any of this. Goalie gets pulled with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and then the Sharks could not hit the empty net. Just couldn't do it. Couldn't hit that empty net. And I thought, it's a good thing you guys are up by 2. Because if you were up by 1, that's when the hockey gods go, you can't hit the empty net? Sorry, we got to tie this up. They don't. Merzlikins saves 30 out of 33 in the loss. Dell saves 28 out of 29 in the victory. Aaron Dell is still proving he's the best goaltender in San Jose. He's also the number 1 star of the game. Erik Karlsson's number 2 and LeBanc's number 3. Power plays 0 for 2 for Columbus, 1 for 3 for San Jose. Shots 15-12 for San Jose in the first, 9-7 San Jose in the second, and in the third, 12-9 in favor of Columbus. Final shots 33-31 in favor of the Sharks. Interesting thing in this game too is they started playing Zombie Nation. Any game where they play the Zombie Nation song, I always say out loud watching the game, hey cool, the Bruins are coming out. Nobody expects the Bruins to come out in the third period of this game. It's going to be great. And I just picture just the Bruins coming out, taking over the game, and maybe just ruining it for everybody. Every time I hear Zombie Nation, to me, that's the the Bruins goal song. It's just weird. Because it is. It's the Bruins goal song, and when I hear it in somebody else's building, I think, okay, the Bruins are coming out. It's a bold decision on the Bruins' choice to come out and play in a game that they're not even scheduled to be in. I approve. All right, there you go. You guys are all caught up on tonight's action. We have 3 games tomorrow, so it's going to be a nice, easy day tomorrow. And I'm probably going to have more time to be able to do other videos and fun stuff. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. I have some ideas of what I'm going to do videos on tomorrow. Pekka Rinne got his first goal, so maybe I need to talk about goaltenders that get goals and that kind of thing. And, hey, Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Support means a ton. That's why I stay up late and do these videos. I will talk to you again soon.